you also have this little thing called anxiety. So like you'll be hardcore on your yes shit. Like, bitch, I am the shit. Look at me go. Look at all these balls in the air that I'm juggling, and I'm even juggling his balls. I am the best wife. I'm doing all of the things. Look at me. I'm flourishing. And then you lay down at night tired as shit and be like, why did I say yes to that? I don't know how to do that.
Yeah. Oh my God, I am the queen of I don't know how to do this, but I'm going to say yes anyways. I mean, that's what this fucking podcast is. I don't know what I'm doing.
Girl,
you don't know what you're doing.
Bitch, not only did I not know what I was doing, I didn't know motherfucking you. Okay?
Which is, I guess, the perfect segue into. Look at that. You just laid it up, and now we're going to dunk it.
I'm a professional now. So I don't know where you've been the past 40 weeks, but I'm a professional podcaster now. We don't have Blue Apron money yet. Speaking of confidence, I'll tell you, after that Monday Night Live, I walked away from that with a greater confidence in the direction of this getting to know you situation we got going on.
Well, that's encouraging for sure. I mean, I said this last night, and I think that it is, it's interesting because I am very much team no new friends. The people that I have are people that have been around for quite a while. And so, there's not much left to uncover or say. So this is the first time in a while that I've pursued a friendship beyond just surface acquaintance level, friendliness. And so on Monday night, for those of you who weren't in the Monday Night Live, I feel bad for you because it turned out to be a really good time. And the fact that I revealed to Melissa that I at one point in my life owned a sizable collection of pewter fairies holding crystals was the first time that, I feel like I've been kind of, like we said, dropping these breadcrumbs all along in kind of giving a glimpse into who I am. But as a person who tends to be kind of by and large private, I think that was kind of maybe the final giant loaf of bread to really kind of give an insight into who I am outside of kind of the superficial surface pieces of me that you were getting all along.
Listen, there is something really intriguing and endearing to me about people who are authentically into nerd shit. I don't know if you characterize pewter fairies as nerd shit, but I do. And because pewter fairies indicate an outsiderness. Pewter fairies indicate, I am a person that I'm going to go ahead and fuck with this, even though everybody in my peer group is probably saying, that's nerdy. Why would you do that? So I first have to explain that throughout the course of the 40 episodes that we've been getting to know each other, I also have, mastered a way of sharing, but not sharing. So I tell people what I want them to know about me. And oftentimes what you don't hear me say is more telling than what I said out loud, So everybody could be talking about a specific celebrity and I just don't be saying shit. Well, that means I don't like her ass. And I have learned the hard way to just not say shit. Um, so with you, I really did have, and I apologize, I really did have a super preconceived notion that you were, you know, a fitness lady on the right side of history. Not that that's, not good enough for me to be endeared to you, but, you know, she's a fitness lady and she's nice and we've had good conversations. But, to me, you weren't an underdog. To me, you weren't a nerd. And, like, that's the specific kind of people I like.
Yeah. Well, and I think that as we've talked about it over the last few days, I think that our views on fitness, and I explained this to you when we talked earlier in the week, so I'll go back and recap it here since nobody's ever going to hear Tuesday's recording. Well, let me just rewind. So I asked you when we talked about this more in depth, did you think that I was like a high school athlete or a jock? To which you responded,
yeah. Why wouldn't I think that?
Yeah. When in reality, I was a terrible student athlete. I was the slowest person on my cross country team. I was cut from the volleyball tryouts my freshman year. I played softball. I was really good at softball. I do not know why, but that was like the one thing that I excelled at. So when I got to college, everybody was like, "Oh, don't gain the freshman 15." And I was like, at that point in my life, terrified, dare I say fat phobic, but I was vain. Who's not vain? And I didn't want to gain the freshman 15. So what did I start doing? The only thing that I knew how to do was run. So I would go to the rec center. I would run all over campus. I ran like my life depended on it because I was terrified of gaining weight. And being in the rec center, I was like, hey, let me try out these fitness classes. So I started taking this one class on Sunday nights called Funk. It was like hip hop dancing. It was very fun. And taking that class, I learned that my school offered, and I've explained this before, so I won't get into details, but they offered a 12-week course to teach you everything you needed to know to become a fitness instructor, which was basically their way to keep employing students to teach fitness classes at the rec center. And so I was like, oh my God, I can exercise and get paid for it. Sign me up. This is my job. Which over the years, like teaching group fitness has always been a side hustle for me, a way to get a free gym membership and exercise and get paid. But it really was a way for me, as I grew older and kind of got out of that fear of gaining weight, it was a way for me to excel at something and do something that I felt deficient in as a kid. Because I had a lot of friends that were student athletes who were fantastic. And there's a certain amount of acceptance and popularity and whatever that goes along with being that as a kid, right? And so fitness for me kind of became something eventually that was like more about maintaining my mental health and stress relief. And it was a way for me to feel proud and capable. It's really become something for me over the last 5 to 7 years where being able to lift heavy or run faster or whatever has been a huge source of self-confidence for me. And so where you see it, I think, as discipline, which it is, or a means to an end as far as like weight loss or an aesthetic change,
no,
I see it more as...
Go ahead.
No, what?
No, I saw it. You being a fitness person, I saw it as your personality.
Yeah.
I saw it as this is a disciplined woman who loves fitness, but that's like what she's about.
Yeah.
And sometimes she listens to Cardi B, and of course she Black Lives Do Matter, and she uses a washcloth, so obviously I can fuck with her. But I thought that was it. Like, gym rat is a very specific like personality to me because I'm not a gym person. So that's all I thought of. Did I ever think you would go to a Renaissance fair. I'm saying I didn't see the nuance. I didn't see the layers. Even through talking, weekly, I didn't pick up those cues. And maybe that's, says more about me. Maybe I'm not a good listener. Shit, I don't know. But so like when I had the discovery about you, it's not necessarily the gargoyles and the fairies that was so exciting. It was that, wait a second, there's a whole person under there brewing. I have not even, this is the tip of the iceberg. I have not even reached, it just hit me that we've been on acquaintance level this whole time then.
Well, and there have been some things that we've managed to, dive deeper into, and there have been, very personal things that, you and I have both shared through this podcast. But I think it just kind of comes down to, if you look at the people that you know in your real life, the people that you've known for a while, like I would venture a guess that some of them it took a while to get to that place where you felt comfortable sharing or they felt comfortable sharing, no? Or do you have friends that you just like everything's on the table, like here's everything about me right away?
No. Because my friends that I've had, I'm talking about decades long. I don't have like fly by the wayside, casual. I don't talk to my friends about that friends. I have friends that we fuck with. Like, I'm picking you up at the airport. Your mama just died. I guess I'm coming over there. Shit. We're in it. I don't have the casual, let's go to lunch and then we don't talk, but then the next time I see you, we're hugging and swaying. And oh my God, I haven't seen. I don't have that. I don't do bullshit like that.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I'm sure people do. I'm sure it's something that you have to do if you have a job outside the house and, you got to fucking socialize and mingle and shit for your career purposes. But I don't be doing that. I don't.
Yeah. And I don't either. And so I think that as a way to, protect yourself as a human, you'll throw those little bits out there. I do this. I like this. I've read this. I enjoy listening to this. And it's kind of like putting those feelers out of like, can we do this? Is this okay? Or and trying to protect yourself, because how horrible has it been when you've revealed something deeply personal about yourself and somebody's rejected you, or that relationship went south and you're like, oh shit, maybe I shouldn't have,
Right. And so when you say, you've dropped those breadcrumbs or whatever, for some reason, I just assumed that those were a passing phase of your life. So when you're like, oh yeah, I listened to Tori Amos, or oh yeah, I love Tegan and Sarah, and I had this CD. Like, to me, that was something that you used to do because it didn't vibe with what I believed was fitness lady.
Yeah.
So then what I think happened is, when it was revealed that, yeah, you would fucking go to a Renaissance fair now, today, what the fuck are you even saying? Crushed red velvet, give it to me. A fucking blues on sleeve, motherfucker, that's me. I was like, wait a minute now. Because those things didn't go with my preconceived notion of who I just really in my heart believed you were. And dusty gargoyles on a shelf under a bunk bed is what I fuck with. You know what I mean? So, like, I was just, like, so happy because it, not only was it a missing puzzle piece, it was a missing corner puzzle piece. Like, everybody's gonna see that corner that's missing. It was, like, I don't know. I guess I gravitate towards, the unwanted nerd. I guess that's because that's who I feel inside that I am. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so there might be a perception of me, and that's not my business, because it's not my business to see how other people perceive me. It's only my business to be who I am and hope that motherfuckers get it. But I have always perceived me and, you know, all of the things that I've grown up, you know, listening to hardcore music and whatever. Like, those things were not a passing phase. Those things shaped who I am exactly today. Those things shaped who Justin is exactly today. And so that's why he and I, you know, match. He's a fucking, I mean, listen, I think is perceived as a very cool person. And he is. He is. He's fucking very cool, extremely talented. But I know him. And that's a fucking nerd right there. You know what I'm saying? And so I didn't think that about you. I assumed you were, you know, one of the moms who, you know, got by to get by and had, you know, casual chit-chatting conversations and wore the shoes that all the other moms wore and wore the coat that all the other moms wore and did that just to get by. I didn't know that there was a fully blossomed and whole nerd in there. And so that's what was so exciting for me.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have developed a really excellent coping mechanism to, I think you said it, what did you say, zip myself up into, you know, whatever the situation requires.
Yeah, okay.
Absolutely.
So the reason why this episode is late is because, you know, we tried to unpack the discovery and it's hard to have a conversation with a person when you have to say to them, okay, I perceived you as this, this, and this, and you are telling me right now that that is not ever who you were. So I am wrong and I owe you an apology because I thought these things about you. So, like, that's why part of that conversation was hard. And also, it was a vulnerable conversation because we got to a lot of the answers by digging deeper into how and why you got to the place you are today. And some of those things are not for public consumption. So, you know, we were both like... motherfuckers went to church. So what I started to figure out was, I was like, okay, what I'm thinking has happened throughout the course of us trying to get to know each other is that you, Amanda, have figured out a way in your life to show up zipped into the exact suit that will get you by in that social setting enough. And then you get to go home and, you know, play with your pewter fairies. You know? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I guess maybe you had never thought of it that way.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I never thought of it that way because it's been seamless, right? I don't have to think about it anymore. I don't have to, and the people that are in my life are the people that I am totally comfortable with and know me, all of the weird, you know, and I use that term in quotes and italicized because I don't think that they're weird. And I think some of my surprise at your reaction was, everybody didn't do this. Everybody doesn't have this, like, piece of them that, like, and because I felt that maybe you had understood some of the things that I had put down in earlier conversations, whether it was dressing up for Halloween or, you know, the reading the books and listening to the podcasts about the occult and all of those very niche interests. I was kind of like, oh, well, I guess she didn't understand that this is a part of me. Fitness, yes, is a big part of who I am because I see it as an opportunity to help people and I see it as an opportunity to help myself and to build into my own self-confidence. But it's not, it's just a piece of the pie. And maybe it seems more forefront to you because I'm teaching all the time or I'm doing, you know, my own stuff, but it's not like that's not just it.
This is where I owe you an apology again, because what you deemed as telling me about your interests, right? I automatically, because, you know, I have to work in the world where I have to figure out very quickly who's who and what's what. Just because in my specific, very, not like everybody else's situation, is everybody comes in to relationships with me believing they already know something about me. So I got to figure out quick what it is I need to know about this person and whether or not this person is allowed inside. Because their preconceived notions about me, I've evolved as a human being 20 years since that fucking show. I'm not this person, and you can't just come up in my house. I mean,
yeah.
So I pegged you as, even with you having given me those clues when you were like, you know, I like stuff about spirituality. I just pegged you as, you know, white women that like crystals and care about spirituality because that's the thing white women like to do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so when you said you like fitness, okay, this is a white woman who has a fucking subscription to Fabletics and she just likes fitness. When you said you listen to murder podcasts, okay, all white women love murder podcasts. Like, it's a, you know, like there are certain things that have come into the general popular culture that fall under the meme of white women be like.
Yeah.
That I was just like, okay, that's Amanda. Nowhere in there did I think, oh, shit, this motherfucker would really eat a turkey leg at a Renaissance fair. Because that's a different kind of white lady. And that different kind of white lady is what I fuck with.
Yeah. Well, I guess I should I owe my Renaissance festival love. I had a girlfriend growing up. She had an older brother, but like, he was always like doing, I don't know, he wasn't that much older, but he was like always doing stuff. So she was kind of like technically in my mind, like always an only child. And when you have those only child friends, you get to be the other sibling. You get to be the one that gets invited on vacation or like to go do fun stuff. So her parents always took us every summer to the Renaissance Festival. And I think my parents maybe took my sister and I once, but like, my parents were like, don't ask for shit because it's expensive. So I never got to like participate in anything. It was like, we went, like, don't ask to eat, don't ask to do this. But Christy's parents let us get our hair braided. And that was a big deal because then you had to make sure you slept on it right so you could go to school on Monday. I wanted the crown with the ribbons that came down the back. I wanted the pointy hat with the scarves that came out the top. Like, so it started, I would say, junior high was when I got introduced to that. And so it was always something that I looked forward to, was getting invited to go with Christy and her parents to the Renaissance Fair. And then that interest played into then discovering Tori, because if anybody's familiar with Tori, this whole idea of fairies and looking into, you know, the occult and spiritualism, they all kind of go hand in hand. And so that really then kind of like opened these doors for me beyond what I knew in my own little sheltered life. And I was like, oh my God, there's like all these people out here and there's, you know, all of these different religions and experiences and, you know, and so that kind of really opened that up for me. And it's kind of been a thread ever since.
Right, but it's been one that you have sort of reserved for people that would get it and understand it. Otherwise, you were tried and true, sticking to, I'm going to zip into my regular lady suit so I can just get by through this day. So, you know, this group of people can be like, yeah, she can fuck with us, even though you weren't really that into whatever they liked.
Yeah.
So, like, there was still always that, like if you look at a screenplay of a teen movie, you know, Revenge of the Nerds, there's always, you know, that group of kids that the undesirables, right?
Yeah.
So how I grew up is I knew I was in the undesirable group, but like I went with it. I was like, I fucking love being that. I'm going to annoy the shit out of you being that. And then I'm going to take that to the top. I'm going to take my undesirability and I'm going to have you watch me do some shit that you wish you could do, that you wish you could be yourself doing. But I also had no choice because I was always going to be the other as the only, you know, biracial person in wherever we were. So like for me, it was like a badge of honor. I'm fucking different, kiss my ass. So I didn't have the experience that you had where you were like, let me button up these little niche interests so I can just get by in the day. For me, it was, let me live out loud and be this fucking weirdo and hope you get it, motherfucker.
And I admire that. I had friends that were exactly that. And I knew, and as a kid, I was able to I could be in all of the different circles, right? I could very easily make my way into and had friends across all of the different, groups of people. And I always felt most comfortable, though, in the kids that were more like me. I never felt like I fully fit in with, the kids that were more socially accepted or considered more popular. But as a kid, I desperately wanted to be seen as that group because I was so insecure. I mean, my self-esteem was in the toilet. So if I could even get a sliver of that attention or that, likability, I was here for it, but never really felt like I was totally in that group. And so tended to hang out with the kids that were on the fringes, but never was going to go full into it because that was totally going to kill my chances of ever being I always think of Tina Belcher on Bob's Burgers. You ever watch Bob's Burgers?
No, but I'm familiar with this person. She's iconic. I know that.
So Tina desperately wants boys' attention and she wants to be popular, but she's hopelessly always Tina. And so, watching that show, watching her navigate, or, Pen 15, watching those girls navigate, wanting to be included with the popular girls, but still painfully themselves on the inside, even though they try to put on this costume. I identify with that so much.
And now we're talking about how you see Pen 15 in a completely different lens than I see it. You think Maya and Anna desperately want to be popular, but they are really just these two nerds. And I think Maya and Anna are unapologetically so fucking nerdy and amazing and couldn't care less about being popular. That's interesting.
Yeah, well, it hurt my stomach to watch it. I was so uncomfortable, and I watched every single episode. But I don't know. I don't think that they wanted to be accepted. They wanted to be invited. They wanted to be included, even if it was on a fringe level, even if they weren't, at the top of the pack of that girls that was popular. I mean, what kid doesn't want to be? I don't know. I look at my kids and I look at my childhood and I can see some of this in Quinn, and she has interests and she has things that she likes to do. But sometimes that desire to just fit in kind of outweighs, the things that you want. And so as a parent, I can see myself in her sometimes and try to encourage her that it doesn't really matter in the end. And so if you like this and they don't, or you want to do this and they don't, it's okay, pursue it. Don't worry about what other people are going to say about you, because I really feel I suffered in trying to, tamp down those things that made me me.
Yeah. I'm still at you perceiving Pen 15 a totally different way than I'm blown away right now. But it just goes to show you the power of personal experience and how you see things. This happened to me this way, and therefore I see, you see a blue dress, I see a white dress.
Well, I think specifically about the episode where they were invited to be in the fashion show. And when they saw the thong and they took the thong, and I was like, oh my God. Because my mom, never. My mom, I wasn't allowed to wear makeup. I wasn't allowed to wear, certain kinds of clothes. And so when they got access to that thong and they were trying it on, I was like, oh my God. Oh my God. There were those glimpses of that, like, wanting to belong. And they were never going to belong. But they were going to keep, trying in little ways.
Oh, wow, this is crazy because I really didn't see it that way.
How did you see it?
I saw it as these two motherfuckers were mad confident. And in the end would be ultimately disappointed by the cool girls that they watched day in and day out. Because, the popular guy liked and kissed her. Because obviously she was the shit. And in her mind, she's like, I am the shit. But that, they're two, I viewed that through a racial lens. So I didn't see her as her thinking that she was the ugliest girl, whatever. I didn't think she believed that about herself, but I also thought, oh, okay, she's the Asian, so she feels, an otherness. This is crazy.
Welcome to the Pen 15 podcast where Amanda and Melissa break down. That actually would be really fucking good.
I mean, so when I watched the show, and I would sit here like, this show's fucking, I was watching it, seeing myself as this confident other, and being like, and inside of that, they're the fucking coolest girls in school and no one knows it yet. That's really what, I was like, oh my God. Clearly she's cooler than her dad is a traveling musician and her mom's fucking Asian. She's fucking awesome. And they don't know yet that she's fucking awesome. And then she's going to become an adult and be way more awesome than these basic fucking bitches. Wow, they don't even know it yet. Like, that's how I was seeing the show. Which was not painful at all. I was like, yes, the victory. Yes, the justice. That's how I was seeing it.
That's so interesting. Wow. Yeah, I watched it and I was like, I don't know if I can do this because this feels so painfully real to me. And all of those feelings bubbled up and I was just like, oh God, oh.
The thing is, though, it was very real to me too, but I was enjoying it. I was like, yes, that exactly. Yes, this is what happened because I was in a friend group that, it was one Trinidadian girl, one Korean girl, and one white girl. And the Korean girl ended up, her parents were religious, so she ended up going another way. But like me and the brown girl and the white girl, we went to hardcore shows and we were the only ones like us. And we just knew we were fucking awesome.
When you were a kid, you were like, I know it doesn't matter what anybody else says
Bro,
or what they're doing. I know.
I knew. I don't know why. I just was like, I'm fucking really special.
That's so good though. I wish. God.
No, but you have to understand too. You have to understand too. Obviously, I'm a human, so there were times that I felt left out. But there were other, it was always buoyed by this idea that nobody is like me. Literally, I'm so cool. And I, unfortunately went into a national TV show with that hubris. I didn't know, maybe I should tone it down a bit. I don't know. So like you explaining how you saw it and how it was so painful, it just is making so much sense to me now. It is making so much sense to me now. So it literally doesn't even matter what Maya and Anna's true and real experience were. I know they said they wrote the show with their true experience in mind of like awkwardness and whatever. But like I would really like to see how other people perceived it. Maybe I saw it wrong. I don't know.
I think that God, I wonder if anybody's dissected. Now I need to go Google because I want to see if anybody has dissected it from their lens, from their life experience.
So, like, okay, how about this scene? The scene where
Yeah.
they invite the popular girls over, who suck, by the way, who are not even
They
cool.
suck so hard. No.
Yeah, and so I'm always like, why would you want to be friends with them? They suck. But I get it. You know, Anna and Maya had to do a group project with them, so it wasn't like they had to be together. It just ended up working out that way. But then the project ended up being at Maya's house, and Maya didn't have the rich white people snacks. I saw that shit and felt so whole and complete. Because that shit is real. You know, when all the kids got Lunchables and you've got fucking lumpia in a foil ball, that shit was so real to me. But also, it didn't pain me. I don't know how to explain. Like, I didn't feel a shame. I mean, I wanted that Lunchable, but I was also like, well, we don't have the fucking Lunchable. You know what I mean?
See, yeah, and I saw it as, oh my God, they are trying so hard to appear a certain way to these girls, and they're falling so short with their single bag of snacks on the table. And then that like embarrassment of, you know, they think that what they're doing is like good enough or is going to be accepted, and knowing that when those girls come into the house, they're going to be like, oh, ew. And feeling that like secondhand embarrassment of like, oh God, they don't even know, and they think that they're doing the right thing and they don't even know, and now it's just going to make it worse. That's how I saw that.
Right, they didn't know that they were doing the wrong thing, but I also didn't think it was making it worse. I also just thought, good, those girls suck anyway. Fuck them. Like, you know, I don't know. This conversation is now gone so far off because now I'm like, did I watch the show wrong?
No, you just watched it from your perspective, which I would imagine that those women would be like, good. Like, I think that you can interpret it because you're watching it from a very different childhood. I mean, we've talked about how we were raised, how our parents treated us. And so I think that to assume that everybody's going to view it from the same lens is silly, because none of us grew up the same. We didn't grow up in the same household with, our parents had different experiences and chose to raise us based off of their, childhood experiences. So I never in a million years would think that anybody saw it any differently than I did, but you did. And I think this is incredibly fascinating that you saw that as them being cool and secure and okay with who they were.
Yeah.
And I saw it as these girls that were like desperately just trying to fit in, knowing that and being comfortable with one another and having that like safe space in each other to be their authentic selves, but then trying to present in a way that was like acceptable to others at school in a different way. Trying to hide.
Maybe, you know what? Maybe you saw it right. Because I thought they only really ever needed each other. And they only ever needed each other because they were just confident in their shit. Like, I thought, the sadness that Anna had was literally just, divorce driven. Her parents are breaking up. I thought, that scene where Maya and Anna are recapping the day with the popular girls, and the brother and the black friend are like, racist shit just happened to you, what the fuck? Like, that scene was invigorating to me. I was like, yes, exactly that. Someone had to tell them. And then, like, in my mind, because I was viewing it through how I see it, they walked away from that like, yeah, those girls fucking suck. But maybe they didn't. Maybe they still wanted to be a part of that group.
And I think that happens. I mean, I think back to times where my feelings were hurt or somebody said something unkind to me, and it stings. And I wish my mom's mantra growing up was kill 'em with kindness, which, oh, fuck. I will never, ever, ever say that to my kids.
Yeah. Shorty's mantra was, well, fuck 'em.
So right there, my mom was just like, just double down and be even more nice. And then they won't have anything to be mean to you about. And looking at that now as an adult, as somebody that has children, I mean, Quinn's had a second grade was incredibly difficult because she was bullied that whole fucking year. And never once would I ever tell her kill him with kindness, because that's just like basically giving somebody a free pass to walk all over you. There's no boundary setting. And so when I think back to like, oh my God, how many times did I just let somebody like trample all over me because I just thought that like the right thing to do was just like double down and be even more nice. Like, holy shit.
No, yeah, that's that. And because Shorty would never tell me to do that.
No. And so now I'm Shorty. I'm like, fuck them. Fuck those girls. You want me to come to school? Fuck her.
Them. And now I'm starting, and remember all the times where I was like, my parents are magical people to all of the friends that I've ever had. So now I'm starting to see that all of the little friends that I've ever had that were, all kind of nerdy underdogs in their own way, because they also befriended the one random biracial girl. So that says something about them too in that time frame. They were welcomed into my home where my parents, just by virtue of being themselves, made them feel special. So I told you, my girlfriend Michelle, my childhood best friend Michelle, who refound me through our strangers group, we started chatting back and forth. After that, she and I took it offline, and she was like, I saw your parents recently, 2 Thanksgivings ago. They invited me over, and they're just so lovely, and they're this and they're that. And I'm thinking to myself, A, my parents never told me that. We're talking about real live present day now. A, my parents never told me that, and B, that they were still thinking about this girl Michelle enough to reach out to her on Facebook and be like, yeah, come through, get a plate. What?
Yeah, that's incredible.
So like, wow. Kill 'em with kindness would never be a thing. My dad was literally like, if they don't like something you're doing or they don't like something they're saying, it ain't for them, fuck them. And like, that's been my whole like ethos this whole time, and for a biracial child, that's kind of important, because you get the onslaught of tragic mulatto messages early on. You're not black enough, you're not Asian enough, you're not this enough, you're not that enough. And the whole time it's just like, bitch, I'm fucking really cool though. My dad said I was, so and it could veer into overconfident. I was overconfident on the real world, but that's because I was confident.
Well, and I think that
shit.
As a parent, like, I try to build into my kids, like, I want them to be confident in who they are. I want them to be able to fully express all of the things that they like and are interested in. I want them to be good humans. I want them to be kind, but not everybody deserves you fully. Not everybody gets to be in your, in your trusted inner circle. And I know that my mom's response was, she was probably thinking that that was the right thing to do. She was probably acting from a place of like, we don't need to make waves. We don't need to be mean to people. And I know she gets frustrated with me to this day, because my pendulum has swung in the completely opposite direction. And I will set boundaries like a motherfucker, and I will not let people walk over me. And I am, unafraid to, cut a bitch out of my life if they do something that is
golden scissors over here. We cut them loose. Goodbye.
And I know she thinks sometimes that I'm cruel or I'm mean or I'm uncaring. And it's just like, no, you just can't. Not everybody deserves to be here. Sorry.
Yeah. And now I'm seeing like the through line of like Shorty's life lessons and how they've come through me, and how Shalom now is unapologetically this anime nerd and
Yes.
has branched completely off into a very niche special group of girls who are also anime nerds. In fact, she's tried to explain to me. I'm like, well, whatever happened to that little girl you played with, blah blah. And like, I can see Shalom doesn't want a bad mouth, because it's not necessarily bad that that girl, went off to, do duck lips and wear short shorts and make TikToks all day. It's just that that's what that girl's into, and I'm not into that anymore. And I respect that. I'm like, okay, so you found your group, you found your people, and now you are sitting in your room in the dark with a green wig on. I'm not going to ask no questions, because that's who you are. And she has no, like, she doesn't have the thing that where she's sad the other girls don't want to talk to her. She doesn't give a fuck. And I'm just like inspired by the motherfucker. Like
that, I was just going to say, like, and that just speaks to you and Justin as parents and the things that you've built into her, because it's going to take I'm just waiting for the day for somebody to cut my kids down and try to tell them that whatever it is that they're interested in or what they're doing or how they're dressed is not it. Like, second grade, I was in that teacher's email. I was in the principal's email. I was like, fucking solve this or I will, and you don't want me to solve it. Because how dare somebody else's shitty kid tell you that you're, nerdy or wrong or whatever.
Yeah, when in the reality of the situation is nerds make the world go around, dumbass.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
So what this episode is really about.
I mean, listen, I could not fully connect because I didn't have all the pieces. I didn't. And I had preconceived notions. I did.
And I needed that time, just as I always do, to, feel you out. Is she going to think that I'm weird? That and so I'm just going to give her what I feel safe.
But that also makes me sad, because I also think that I project this thing that lets other weirdos know safe space,
Yeah. Yeah. But that's me. That's just who I am. And so, while I never felt like you would be mean to me or rude or cruel, you're also somebody that I think is very, very cool. And
well, thanks.
And we're into totally different things. I do not enjoy hardcore music.
Weirdo.
So while I can appreciate the things that you like, I like very weird things. And so how do I know how somebody's going to react to that? I'm just going to maybe like test the waters. And eventually, and I think I said in your text last night, like, well, now that you know who I am, like, that's on you, and you're going to.
No, it made it so much better. And I when I tell you, and please take this in total, in stride and with fucking glee, actually. When I talk to my in real life, friends that I'm not making a podcast with, that I don't have to get to know, JJ and Lisa, they were like relieved. They were like, yeah, now it makes so much sense. Lisa's response was lightning bolt, and I replied, death, bitch. Like, because I didn't even have to have this whole roundabout conversation with her for her to know I know that you now, Melissa, understand her better, and you feel better about the direction of where the friendship could go because you have that peace now. That's all. She said lightning bolt, and I said death, bitch, and it was understood. Because even though Lisa appears very cool and awesome and amazing, she too is a fucking nerd. Okay.
Yeah. Lisa's way too cool for me. Very cool.
She's extremely cool, but not at all. That's the thing. JJ is extremely cool, high fashion guy, a fucking nerd. And like, I have managed in my life to find just those people. You know what I mean? So like, that's terrible. That's terrible.
No, but it's so important. It's so important to have those people in your life. And honestly, like as we've talked and, and we've been, Lisa and JJ for me in this relationship have been on the fringes as people who have come in to do things, to help us with the show or whatever. And in the back of my head, my anxiety is like, they are never going to like me. They are too cool for me. They do all of these like amazing things. They have these very cool lives. And I'm just this like boring white suburban mom in Ohio, like never the twain shall meet. So hearing that from you that they're like, oh, okay, yeah, now we get it. Now I'm like, okay, so I don't have to be in my head about this. Like I'm not the lame person in this situation.
Dude, all I had to do was say, bro, LARPing, she fucks with it, she's down with it. They're like, yo, that makes so much sense. It's so much they're like, it's better this way. I'm like, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. It's so much better. Because when we all had the preconceived notion that you were just basic white lady spiritual crystals who goes to the gym, we were like, what we gonna do with this? What we gonna do with it? There's only so far you could go with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and then it made Chris make so much more sense to me. Because, I think from the outside looking in, people have a very specific idea and they kind of lump all of, quote unquote, alternative music people in one big bubble. But it really is there are so many variegations and, offshoots and shit. And like, Chris is in his whole own very specific bubble, which he thinks that we would be arguing. We really wouldn't be arguing. I would just be like, no, what you like is this, this, and this. And what's happening over here with us is this, this, and this. There's a Venn diagram and there's a tiny slot in the middle where we can meet, where you could fuck with it. But the things you like are this world and the things we like are this world. But up to a person who's not in the world at all, they're like, y'all are talking about the same ass shit. You know what I'm saying? They're like, it's Playmobil or it's Legos. Which one is it? There's motherfucking blocks that get put together. What you talking about? Yeah. But like that you could get down with very specific, flower crown, crushed velvet, lattice work Renaissance fair makes me understand how Chris, you had your sights set on the motherfucker. Because he was cool as fuck to you.
Cool as fuck. I mean, he walked into that pool and he had on his, his black Chuck Taylors and some t-shirt with a band name on it that I had never heard before. And, as people present themselves, if they choose to be their authentic selves, and he was at all times. And so I could see that. And also I thought he was incredibly hot. So that didn't hurt.
And now I'm wondering, so what happened was, and see, we come to one of our first examples that you showed us where you learned to compartmentalize and show up as the thing you needed to be, where you went home and, went right to the microfiche machine and started Googling the name on the shirt and like, what the fuck is this?
Absolutely.
I got to learn about it. I got to talk about it. I don't know what this motherfucker's talking about, but I'm going to talk about it. And so that coping mechanism didn't tell you, like, no part of you went, I'm going to go in and be like, I don't know nothing about that. Anyway, what's up? You said, I need to learn all about that. I need to get him to understand that I am malleable enough to know about that, and we are going to vibe. Whereas,
well, we had, so the mutual friend that connected us said to me, and I will remember this day for eternity. Andrew was like, he listens to really good music. If he invites you to a concert, go. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna learn all about this. I'm gonna figure it out. And I'm also the type of person that like I'm open to like, you want me to go to a hardcore show, I'm probably not going to enjoy it, but I'll go for the experience to say that I went. So I felt like, okay, so I want him to like me. I want him to be interested in me. So I'm going to understand the things that I think that he likes. I'm not going to go in and pretend like I'm an expert or like I actually go to these shows, but in an effort to like, you know, connect, I'm going to try to learn this stuff. And so that's what I did. And he invited me to a concert that first week. And I was like, yes, take me. I'll go.
See, and the kind of person I am is, you're going to say you like this shit. I'm going to tell you, I don't really fuck with that, but I'm going to come with you because I want to hang out. And then I'm going to absorb the thing that we're at. And I'm going to study the people. And I'm going to try to understand where they are in their lives that they got to this place. And then now I feel like I know more about the world. So like Justin, of course, has dragged me to many things. We do like a lot of the same things, but he has taken me to many places where I clearly was like, what is happening? You know, a napalm death show. I'm like, okay, let's do that. But he's also taken me to Babyface concerts where you sit down and have a glass of wine. So like, and enjoyed it. So he and I both have the thing where I'm going to tell you whether or not this sucks, but I'm still go with you though, because you're my person.
Yeah. Oh my God. How many shows I got to, I think it must have happened like right around when I had Quinn. And I was like, listen, I do not enjoy this show where I'm going to stand here in the back and this giant sweaty man's arm sweat is going to touch my arm. I don't want to hold your glasses and your wallet and your keys while you go into the mosh pit. You have friends for this.
She said the mosh pit. That's hysterical.
We're already a thing. So you can go to the show by yourself. I don't need to go anymore.
So you still had to go to shows
when
went you already were with kids.
Show. I went to every fucking show. And I was like, I'm not tall enough to see the stage, bitch. I was in a VFW at the age of probably 26 or 27 in Lexington, Kentucky, seeing somebody that I didn't know.
Okay,
who the fuck they were.
Wait, but who were they? Because VFW is different. That's special shit.
I don't even remember. I mean, the things that I was in somebody's basement at one point some summer because he was on his like, I'm going to bring these bands that I like to Cincinnati shit.
Okay, well, bitch, listen. He had to do it for the culture. Okay.
But I felt like at this point I've paid my dues. I'm done.
Listen to me.
This is a thing.
Listen to me. Listen to me. What Chris was doing for that band in that basement, that band will never forget because I have a story for you. My friend Megan, her husband, held the first Glassjaw show in his basement. Aww. And look what he did for the culture. There would be no Glassjaw.
Yeah. Well, no, I know.
And Megan's husband is a fucking lawyer, craft beer guy now who, you know, likes more melancholy type shit. But he did that for the culture. So Chris might have not even really liked that band. But he understood the value of it for the quote unquote scene.
Yeah. So I did it for a while and now he knows better than to ask. And that's fine. And he, you know what? He's been to Tegan and Sarah. He's been to Tori. He went to a Regina Spektor concert with me at one point.
Okay, so see, now you're asking too much. No.
He's had his share. So, you know, we do things together. And there's things like I love musical theater. And when we were in London, we went to see Les Mis. And he fucking loved it. And so now that's a thing. Like he knows to get tickets to go see certain things, and so there's that trade-off that you do when you're in a relationship with somebody, and even though you might not love it, you go do it anyways.
Yeah. And what's gonna happen is when outside opens and there's a Renaissance fair, bitch, I'm on the first flight. to Cincinnati. You are taking me. I'm having a walking taco. You better be in a costume. I'm going to still be me. And I'm going to be just like, let's do it, bitch.
I haven't been in forever. But like since we've had this conversation, I've always wanted to go see Rocky Horror at like a midnight showing in a costume, and have never had the balls to go do it. So now I'm like, okay, when outside opens and it's an opportunity, I'm going to go to that show and I'm going to put on a costume.
And you know who would love to go with you? JJ's ass. That's the type of shit JJ would want to do. And that's my people. That's my people.
Yes. Okay.
Whew. Well, I'm glad we got that out of the way. So now we'll go into season 3 where I'm just like, I don't have the preconceived notion anymore.
I'm not just a what do I want to say?
Basic?
A dimensionless. Yeah, that's not. And I think my friends, if they're listening, are laughing because they know that's not me.
I know, but if your friends are listening, then they understand how you came zipped into the suit and why I thought those things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. Well, I'll see you in a couple weeks.
You know you're going to be on the phone.
Bitch, I'm going to call you in 20 minutes and be like, you got this? Well, that's the other part, too, that I think, kind of goes by the wayside here is while we are technically, getting to know each other and trying to forge ahead with a friendship, we're also random-ass coworkers. So,
Yeah.
How many people in the world have coworkers that they would never talk to outside of work?
It's so weird. It's so weird. This whole thing is weird.
This whole thing is so fucking weird, girl. It's so weird how we're even moving forward and doing another third. It's so weird, but I'm telling you, you just went from coworker acquaintance could be a friend to wait a second, LARPer? I'm gonna fuck with her. So, be not surprised if you check the mail in a couple weeks and you have a fucking gargoyle special from me.
I'm so pissed I don't know where any of those went. I'm sure my parents threw them away ages ago. But I did, after we talked on Monday night, I did go downstairs into my little Tupperware bins looking to see if there had been one, tucked into any of those memory boxes.
Oh my God. This is so much better. I'm telling you, the nuanced fitness lady who likes gargoyles is way cooler than fitness lady who fucking does Zumba to trap music. I'm telling you, I'm like, this I can do, baby. This is it right here. You know what I'm saying? Woo! And, oh my God. What a relief it is.
You learn something new every day.
I did. And I feel so...
Thank goodness for that wedding episode and weed. This podcast.
If you hadn't said you liked Tori Amos's wedding... If you hadn't said that, where would we be? We would really be in our Slack in the topics thing being like, want to talk about juicing? Want to talk about aerobics? And then still sitting there trying to find this common ground. And now I think what makes this even better is, you had this perception of me that I'm very cool. And you're like, this bitch is really excited about LARPing, so how cool could she be?
Wait, I not to keep going in here, but if you, from the outside, you live in New York, you have very fancy clothes, you have very nice handbags, you have a great eye for design, you have fancy friends. I do not. So just that alone, I was like, we are not even operating on the same, life level. My life is very boring. This is not interesting. I don't know why she keeps talking to me, but I'm going to keep riding. I'm going to keep riding this train as long as I can because I'm having a really good time here. So this helps me now better understand that you were this same weird kid.
Yeah, and who came into some shit, don't get me wrong. I'm going to get these handbags, bitch. me get these handbags. It's gonna cost just a pretty penny. But yeah, but that's just fucking, tiny pockets of access. It doesn't change the core. You know what I mean?
That's good to know.
It doesn't change that. And also, I didn't ask to be in New York. Preconceived notions, they'll get you every time.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Bye.
Bye. It was such an anticlimactic way. And that's it, guys. We have reached the end of season 2 of Imperfect Strangers podcast. So Melissa and I are going to take a little break. We are going to get things ready for season 3. We have some exciting things up our sleeves and need a bit of time to get it all together. So we will be back with new episodes in April. In the meantime, if you are not yet subscribed to this show, this is the time to do it. Because that way, when we come back on, you don't even have to look for us. You don't even have to wonder. It will be right there in your phone. How about that? If you miss us while we are on break, you have plenty of ways to still get your Imperfect Strangers fix. The first thing would be Patreon. We have 7 months now worth of Patreon content. That is never before heard episodes. That is Monday Night Lives. There are newsletters. It's robust, chock full of content. So that would be a great thing to do. You can find us on Instagram. We will be going live tonight to talk about episode 40, Preconceived Notions. So join us tonight on Instagram to talk about this episode. And then you can find our website, www.imperfectstrangerspodcast.com. We are on Instagram at imperfectstrangers_podcast. We are tweeting at imperfstrangers. And we also have our private Facebook community where you can join like-minded strangers in the chat. It is a good old time. We will be in there posting and joining in while we're on break. So in the meantime, be excellent to one another. Wear your fucking mask and wash your hands, and we'll see you in April. Bye.